It is Friday, October the 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning. You are watching the All 32 Pod or listening to the All 32 Pod, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network and brought to you by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. I am very excited to be joined by my pal, Mark Daniels of MassLive. Mark, you've been doing this for how long now?
This is year 11, season 12. 2014 was my first year as a beat writer, so it's been a nice run.
Yeah, I always say, like, if you could put a GoPro on certain reporters and see how much activity they're responsible for in the locker room, Mark is like Mike Vrabel on the football field, on the practice field. He's on one corner, then he's the net. You're like, how did he get from there to there? But he's got a mission. He's doing his work, and he provides great content at MassLive, so you should check that out for sure. Mark, I want to get into this, and I guess the first place we have to start is, are the 5-2 New England Patriots for real?
I've been thinking about this since you texted me that last night, and I think my answer is yes with an asterisk. I think they're for real in the sense that they are a playoff contending team, whether that means a wild card or a home playoff game, I don't know. But what's clear to me through 7 weeks is that they don't stink. I think they're better than average. I think the league overall is pretty down. Like, there's not many elite football teams. I don't think the Patriots are an elite football team because I don't think they have enough elite talent. But you have a top 10 quarterback. Stephon Diggs looks very legit. You have some good players on defense, and you have an easy schedule. So you can't control who you schedule. This isn't college sports. But they're taking advantage of the bad teams, and it's clear to me they're not a bad team. So are they for real? Yeah, I think they're a playoff team. Are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. But after 2 4-win teams, Mike, I will definitely take that.
Yeah, it is. It's refreshing, and I think it's been refreshing for the fan base, and maybe that's why all of a sudden people start getting lofty expectations. Like, I was doing early edition the other day, and the producer, who happens to be a diehard Pats fan, did a comparison between the 2025 Patriots and the 2001 Patriots and said, why can't it be them? And I'm like, well, geez, like, can we let them, I don't know, establish themselves a little bit more? And then he was like, well, give me a reason why they could do it. And I'm like, what you said, Drake Maye, if he plays like this, then you're capable of winning any week because he is playing on a level right now. And again, I understand the competition, but like you said, you can only do what you can do and play who's in front of you. That he is playing at such a level right now that it can elevate what is in some places subpar or just average talent. And I think we've seen that to this point. And I guess that leads me to my next question is, what's impressed you most about Drake through 7 games?
So, like, coming in, I knew he was athletic. I knew he had a big arm. I knew he could escape out of the pocket, be hard to defend. I didn't realize how accurate he could be at all. I thought he would be not Josh Allen when he first got into the league and he was like sub 60%, but I thought he'd have some accuracy issues, turnover worthy plays a lot more than we've seen through 7 weeks. I got this note from the NFL. Drake Maye has a 75.2 completion percentage through 7 weeks. The only quarterback in NFL history to be above 75% is Drew Brees, who was at 77.4% in 2018. So again, through 7 weeks, Drake Maye is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. That is insane, Mike. Like, that's been the biggest surprise to me is the rate at which he's completing passes. And it's not even like dink and dunk. He's like second in the league per yards per attempt. I think 9th in yards per completion. And we see it every game. He's throwing the deep ball. But the way he's completing passes and how accurate it is, I did not expect this. Like, the athleticism, the arm strength. Like, yeah, we saw it at UNC. The accuracy, there was no chance I thought he would be this accurate this early with Josh McDaniels at all. Remember, like, week 1, we're like, does he fit in Josh McDaniels' offense? He's not, Tom Brady. He's not like Mac Jones, but like, I mean, at this point, he's more accurate than Mac Jones. He's certainly a lot better. Yeah. I did not expect him to be over 70% through 7 weeks at all. That to me is a huge surprise.
Yeah, I harp on this, but that week 1 game, even though he was almost 300 yards passing, he completed 30 passes. I had him for 14 subpar plays, which is, even when he completed passes, it's the accuracy where you're putting the ball. And now you hear him talk, and he talked about it this week about like trying to give guys better yards after catch opportunities. And he's nitpicking. It's like, because the ball on this hip versus this hip, if I'm going this way, if you put it on this hip, yeah, then he does give his guys like Mac Hollins, which granted was an easy play underneath, but like he gave Mac Hollins 20 yards extra on the run because he didn't make him work for the football. And it's those sorts of things that when he's making those throws in tight windows and giving the guy, even if it's 3 or 4 more yards, that makes a lot of difference. You do that a couple times in a drive, and maybe you go from the edge of field goal range to being in field goal range, or 3rd and short to no, you converted it for a first down. It has really been impressive. I tie it into the mental too, Mark, with him, where I just think we're getting to the point where it's not only week to week, but even in games, sometimes series to series, sometimes in the series, where like he makes a mistake or the ball's not right or whatever, and then it's like he checks himself, and it's like, no, you know what? Settle back down. You'll find it. He does, and he found it. Like early in the Tennessee game, it wasn't great, and then all of a sudden, it was just like that. He rips off 16 completions in a row.
There are just every game. There's like 2 to 4 throws that I'm just like, damn. You know, it's like sitting up there in the press box, and like when we used to watch like Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, Gronk would do things that just didn't seem humanly possible. Like, and I try to stay quiet in the press box, but there's just moments you say aloud, like, wow, like that was amazing. And Drake has just had like 2 to 4 throws every game. I'm like, damn. You know, the back shoulder, the Kayshon booty in New Orleans, the cover 2 hole shot against Buffalo, even had a couple in Tennessee, the pass to, we had a couple nice passes to Stephon Diggs, Buffalo last week in Tennessee. The Mac Hollins one you mentioned, he's placing the ball in places in these tiny windows. And it's just like, you think about it, it is so hard to play quarterback in the NFL. And he's throwing these deep ball passes with just like precision and accuracy that I'm like, I didn't expect him to be here this soon. It is like, I'm going to tell you a really funny story. I'm in New Orleans, I'm having dinner, and this Patriot fan walks in with a Drake Maye jersey. And Saints fan goes, "Oh, you have a really good young quarterback." And the guy, as he's walking out, the Patriots fan goes, "Finally." And everyone in the bar started laughing. What do you mean, finally? You had Tom Brady for 20 years. You spoiled, like, baby. Are you kidding me? Finally? But I think it goes back to, like, the Pats had Tom Brady for 20 years. We sort of toiled in this 5-year period where it wasn't great. Mac Jones, Cam Newton, Bailey Zappi. There was a Brian Hoyer game in there. And all of a sudden, you get Drake Maye. Lucky. Like, Patriot fans, I don't think you guys understand how lucky you are that Drake is this good this soon, and you had Tom Brady for 20 years. Like,
yeah, you just look around the league. Chicago has never had a 4,000-yard passer, and maybe Caleb Williams is the guy to change that. But it's, I mean, never, ever, not one time. Like you would figure in this league, you would just stumble into that at some point. Somebody has a year that just like, hey, like Ryan Fitzpatrick had a few, seasons where you're just like, oh, this guy, like. They've never had it. Cleveland's on like their 50th quarterback in the last 20 years. Like it just on and on it goes. And you went from from Brady to this brief window, really brief when you consider in the NFL of 5-ish years. And then all of a sudden it appears that you found the next franchise quarterback, which is remarkable. The other thing I like about what he's done so far, think about how we felt about the receiver room for a number of years. We know what I said a couple years back, but just in general, and even when you looked at this group, you're like, well, they're not, in the summer, we're like, they're not going to be awesome, but at least they're not the worst, like maybe they're the 20th, the 22nd best room. Now we're sitting here a couple weeks from the trade deadline, and it's almost like, they don't really need a receiver. Right. I mean, if one fell in their lap, if A.J. Brown did come free for a 3rd-round pick, okay, fine, yeah, do it. But in general, you're like, no, these guys are good enough because he's making them good enough.
Yeah, Kayshon booty is on pace for over 800 yards. Stephon Diggs is on pace for 95 catches for 1,100 yards. That's crazy. I mean, those two guys right there look like a number 1 and a number 2. And you're right. This doesn't happen if you have Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. You know what I mean? Like those guys, like you have you're below average quarterback. Everything else suffers. I think even your pass protection, your offensive line play, everything suffers. And Drake Maye, he helps out just the offense everywhere. I think he makes the offensive line better. He makes the run. I mean, he should be making the run game better. We'll see if that's the case this weekend. But like, you're right. Like a really good quarterback opens things up, and like he's going to earn people money. Like Kayshon booty is going to put him in line himself to get paid, and probably should thank Drake Maye for that.
Yeah. Speaking of money, I'm glad you transitioned there because PrizePicks is an easy way to make money. If you love sports, daily fantasy sports, over 10 million users, you just pick more or less on 2 players up to 6 to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's simple to play. You can cash in immediately if you want. PrizePicks is the only app to offer stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You like Drake Maye, passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, bam, stack them. Nobody else lets you do that. PrizePicks does. You can also follow other PrizePick players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, just someone who picks like you. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And Mark, I'm just going to say it right now. I just mentioned that stack. That's what I'm playing this week. It's Maye over touchdowns. It's more touchdowns. It's Maye more passing yards. It's Maye more rushing yards, or longest rushing yards if you prefer. And I'll also throw in more receptions for Stefon Diggs, because when they need to have it, as you mentioned, Drake Maye more than willing to go to Stefon Diggs, and Stefon Diggs just so happens to always be open. I do want to hit on one thing that I think has been discussed a little bit here and there. Maybe we've had some conversations about it in the locker room as we're sitting around. What do you make of Mike Vrabel's reluctance to give offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels praise? I mean, it's been lukewarm. People have given him softballs. Here's the question. Just say, hey, Josh has done an awesome job with our young quarterback and putting all these pieces together. And instead, it's Thomas Brown, and it's Todd Downing, and it's Tony Dews, and it's Ashton Grant. And like, for whatever reason, he does not want to prop Josh up here.
And I don't love to give credence to the rumors and the radio chatter, but Mike Vrabel's reluctance to give Josh McDaniels just adds to it, right? Like, I asked him a few weeks ago, like, how impressed were you with job Josh McDaniels did? And he did. He talked about the entire group. He talked about Thomas Brown and Todd Downing, and it makes me think, did you really want Josh? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's the case. I think Josh McDaniels was the perfect hire. Clearly, he's doing a great job with Drake Maye. I would love to have a drink with Mike Vrabel and just be like, why won't you give your offensive coordinator props? Like off the record, what's going on? Like, Josh is so good. Is it a way for him to make his other assistant coaches happy? You know what I mean? Is it more of a we over me type thing? Is this more of a team building thing? Like, we're not going to give props to one coach. We're going to give props to all coaches. Okay, fine. But he certainly has given props to Todd Downing, and he's certainly given props to other assistant coaches. I thought Josh was the perfect hire. I also I could be wrong about this. I thought Albert Bray reported that Josh and Mike were tied when Mike was interviewing with the Jets, so I just thought they were already tied together. I didn't think it was like a Robert Kraft thing, but the way Mike speaks about Josh, or the way he doesn't speak about Josh, lends some credence to how much ownership might have wanted him. But I don't it's strange to me because Josh McDaniels is not a threat. He's not going to become a head coach. He's not going to replace Mike Vrabel. He's really good at his job, and he's showing a willingness to collaborate. I wonder if the overall message is we over me. It is bizarre though, Mike, right? It's weird.
It's weird because we over me, and you'll hear Mike say that all the time, praise the players, like it's not me, it's the players. They're the ones that have to go out there and do it. And yet, if you piece together some of the recent comments from him, it's like, well, I'm always in there with Josh, or, there's all of a sudden, he inserts himself into the conversation, which, look, we know he's hands-on. I mean, we saw it on the practice field starting in the spring all the way through training camp, where, as I mentioned, he's all over the place. You're looking at, he's talking to a special teamer, he's working with a kicker, then he's the other side of the field working with Keon White on pass rush moves, those sorts of things. But it is a little curious. And to your point, it does sort of make you scratch your head and say, I thought you guys insisted that this was Mike's decision, but the way Mike is responding to it is a little bit odd. Again, it's a minor little thing here on what has been obviously a very good story through the first 7 weeks of the season. let's transition here to the game this weekend against the Cleveland Browns. I think it's clear that this is the best defense that they've faced.
Yep.
They don't necessarily travel as well. They're a better home team than they are an away team. But again, they're still formidable on that side of the ball. What about the Browns, if anything, worries you this weekend?
Yeah, it's the defensive line. I mean, Myles Garrett and Malik Collins are really, really good. I thought Jared Wilson had a really rough game in Tennessee. I had him down for 2.5 sacks. He's had some moments this year. I'm like, I don't know if he's ready. I mean, I think Jared Wilson could be a good player, but at left guard, I'd say right now he is your biggest weakness on that line. You have Malik Collins and Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is one of the best players. He's going to give every tackle in the NFL fits, never mind a rookie left tackle. I think Will Campbell's been solid. Will struggled a little bit against Pittsburgh. I had him down for 2 sacks in that game. So what worries me is pass protecting for Drake Maye, right? I mean, I think the key for this game for the Patriots is just to stay turnover free and try to keep Drake Maye upright. If you don't turn over the ball, you're going to beat the Browns. But as you said, I mean, Browns are number 1 in total defense, which is just yards per game. Their run defense is number 4. Their pass defense is number 3. They're very legit. I think it's a great test for Drake and the offense to see how bona fide they are. Even the run game, Mike, like, all right, sure, they ran for over 170 yards, but the Titans were bad. Like, the Titans have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. This is going to tell you if the Pats run game is actually turned around or it was just a mirage or, they just beat up on a bad team.
I'm glad you brought up Collins, because Collins is one of the best pass rush win rates in all of football, more of an interior guy. So we started to see last week, Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for Cleveland, has been pretty steady keeping Garrett on the edges, where in years past moved him around. You guys all remember the clip where he's doing the killer crossover over the A-gap over the center, basically calling his shot and ending up with a sack. They hadn't done that at all this year. They started to move him last week. Again, not all the way on the inside, but to me it feels like, okay, we went from you're always on the edge, you're always outside shoulder of the tackle, now to head up on the tackle. Now are we going to get some instances where he looks at Jared Wilson and says, you can't block this guy? Or does he just say, Collins has been so good as a pass rusher, yeah, we might do it for 1 or 2 plays, but you're going to have your hands full with Collins anyways. Right. But it certainly bears watching. I think one of the things that Josh has done really well, as we go back to McDaniels here, is that he's constantly giving the tackles help. And so you're right. Will Campbell has been solid. There's been some cracks recently. I felt like he hasn't been as good as he was early in the year. But Morgan Moses on the other side, who had a clean sheet last week, not out there on an island by himself, constantly varying, whether it's tight end chip, it's a running back chip. You're working, the boot action away from the source of pressure, but like constantly giving the defense things to be aware of, so that you can't just say, I'm putting my hand in the dirt, and the moment that ball is snapped, I am going as fast as I can up the field, and I got one guy to beat. He's varied that up to a point where it certainly benefited the group.
Yeah, and like Jared Wilson too, it's like I don't know if you have a great option. Like, he struggles. You're going to get better play off of Ben Brown. I mean, Ben Brown played 1 game. He was fine, but I believe it was against the Panthers, who kind of stink. So, like, with 2 rookies starting the offensive line, you're going to have some hiccups. You're going to have some rough moments. I think that's expected. The game where you could really see it, though, is this weekend. And I think that's just the biggest area that worries me with the Browns. Like, Mike, their offense kind of stinks. I like Quinshaw Junkins, a very good running back, ran for 3 touchdowns against the Dolphins. But, like, the Patriots also have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. I think they're 3rd or 4th in the league right now. Like, stop the run. Dylan Gabriel is probably not going to beat you. I mean, his yards per attempt. This is a guy who averages between 3 to 6 yards per attempt. It's like a true dink and dunk type quarterback, and his receivers haven't been great. He's a rookie tight end who's okay, but offensively, they don't worry me. It's like stay turnover free. Like we saw against Pittsburgh, if you have a really bad game, you can lose to anyone, and you could lose to the Browns if that happens, 5 turnovers. But overall, I'm not entirely worried about them, even though defensively it could be a good matchup. But whatever, 23-7. I mean, 23-10, 23-13. It should be somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like if you get to 16, 17 points, even on a Cleveland's best day, like your point is, if they don't turn the ball over, which is what happened with Miami. Miami turned the ball over, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, Cleveland scored 31 points. Then you go look at the numbers, and you're like, their offense, I mean, Judkins was good, but 81 yards rushing, like nothing crazy. Gabriel completed 13 passes. That's their offense right now. Is they're leaning heavily on their defense, hoping their defense can force a turnover, maybe even get a score, or at least set the offense up in plus field position. And then they're trying to win games 17-14, 16-13. That's their best path at this point to win. I like Gabriel. He's tiny. I thought after watching him at the Senior Bowl, I'm like, you know what? If he was 4 or 5 inches taller, he's probably a first round pick, but he's not. And there's limitations on that. As I've said, I'm a heightist at the quarterback position. I just don't like short quarterbacks. Yes, occasionally there's a guy that, whatever makes it happen. Baker's not the biggest guy, right? And he's making it happen, but like Baker's got a live arm, liver than Gabriel. So it just doesn't feel like they can do much. The interesting part is, and you talked about the run game, the run defense. That's what it's going to be, right? They're going to say, we're going to try to run the ball against you. And the Patriots are going to say, well, no one can. And we're going to make sure we stop that and put it on Gabriel. And so that's a good test for them in that I think that Cleveland is pretty good at running the ball. So this may be the best run offense you faced. I'm trying to think now. Carolina, decent run offense. Although when you saw Carolina, they were missing both their high-paid $20 million guard and their starting center. So you caught them at a weak point. Can Quinshon Judkins go for 80 to 100 yards? No running back has gone over 50 this year against them.
Yeah. I think you go over 50 against the Patriots. I think they're going to run the ball so much that maybe it's just, even if he averages like 3.8 yards per carry, you know what I mean? They can move the ball a little bit. I think the thing with the Pats defense, and I don't know if you feel this way, Mike, the way teams attack them kind of seems similar. It's like get someone into the flat or get someone into space, like matched up on a linebacker, get someone matched up on a safety, find a spot in a soft zone. There's yards to be had against the Pats defense. And I think every game, especially how they start, they always bend. We're going to see this unit sort of bend and bend and bend. But the one thing that's kind of impressed me is they don't break often. So against the Browns, I think with Quinshon Judkins, they're going to bend and they're going to allow yards. You're going to maybe get the tight ends or whatever receivers they have playing, matched up with a linebacker, or get them into the flat, let them run after the catch. You can do it. Can you get into the end zone against the Pats defense? I have some criticism against with the linebacker play the Pats have had this year. I don't think they're elite. The safety play, I don't think it's elite. They're giving up a lot of plays. They're just not giving up a ton of points. It's like, you can move the ball against them for sure. I don't know if you can put up, a 30 spot against this defense inside Gillette Stadium with the Browns roster.
It's funny. It's the old school bend but don't break Patriots defense. Only they're playing completely different than they used to, right? The penetrating one gap, get up the field, get after it, create havoc, those sorts of things. But the end result has become the same as you talk about getting into the red zone and teams kicking field goals and not scoring touchdowns is critical. All right. So last week when I had Andy Hart on, we did the rookie class. We gave out grades. I want to remind people, because sometimes we don't listen. If you got a C in high school, that's an average grade. Average, C. So C plus, slightly above average, B minus, you get the whole point. So now I'm going to put you to the test, and I want to run through some of these guys. And I had the list that fell on the floor, but I can remember this. Let's start with the highest paid one, Milton Williams. What kind of grade do you give him?
Milton Williams, I am going to give an A. I think he's a dude. He's like, what a good signing. You gave him the biggest contract in New England history. I think he's worth the money. I think he's a Pro Bowl defensive tackle. He's playing all downs for you. He's an absolute game wrecker. I heard that he has a tab going with some of the defensive end for the sacks they've been getting based off him, that they're going to owe him steak dinners by the end of the year. A ton of steak dinners for Harold Landry and Caleb Von Chason going to Milton Williams. Like, I think he's an A. Great signing, man. Just an absolute game wrecker. It's a lot of fun.
A tremendous locker room guy. Like, right? They just like you. I think I was talking about this with Callahan a few pods ago, and we're just like, doesn't matter whether you win or lose, whether he has big numbers or doesn't, he's there and he's ready to talk. And it's not like self-serving. He'll be critical of himself, of the group or whatever, and also put praise to the other guys. But it's like, we've been through this period where guys only wanted to talk about themselves, or, hey, it's Devon Godchow. Oh, well, we stopped the run. Devon, you gave up 40 points. I don't really give a damn if you stopped the run. You gave up 40 points and you lost again. Milton Williams has been responsible in that regard. Carlton Davis at corner.
Yeah, Carlton Davis. I'm going to give him I go between a B and a B minus. So say like an 83, an 82.
Yeah.
I think he's been rock solid. He doesn't get, honestly, he gives up catches every game, Mike, but he's not giving up like big catches, like he's someone who'll give up 2 catches for like 30 yards. And Pats fans will be like, what's wrong with Carl Davis? I'm like, I don't know. I think he's a rock solid number 2 cornerback. I wouldn't say spectacular. You're not going to get an A. I think he's better than average. He's an above average cornerback. He might not be a Pro Bowler. I think he's a good fit opposite Christian Gonzalez. I like him. I think I'm fine with B. I won't give him a B minus. I'm fine with the B there.
He's interesting, right? Because there seems to be a penalty a game.
Yeah,
he seems to be hurt every game, which I guess
stay healthy.
Yeah, it's his reputation, right? I think when we look at cornerback play, you talk about fans being spoiled. I think they think because the guy's making $19-20 million, you're not supposed to complete a pass on him, and that's Pat Surtain gives up catches, and he was the defensive player of the year. Like when Gilmore was awesome and won defensive player of the year, like they still threw at him from time to time. He still surrendered a catch or two. Devontae Parker had like 5 for 87 against them. And I remember fans being like, what's wrong with Gilmore? I was like, well, they had a good scheme, and Parker is he wasn't here, but there he was a borderline number 1 receiver. So you're like, it happens. The other guy gets paid too, right? So we seem to forget that. What do you got for Harold Landry?
So Harold Landry, that's an interesting one for me. I was thinking about this because his numbers are very legit. He's top 10 in the NFL in sacks and quarterback hits. I think a lot of that is also a reflection of Christian Barmore and Milton Williams.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him an A, but I'd say B plus. At like 88. I think he's an above average edge rusher. He's really good in Mike Vrabel's system. I wouldn't call him a dominant player. I understand how he, earned a Pro Bowl back in the day, but I think he's an above average pass rusher. I wouldn't call him elite, but he's been a good fit. He's been a good signing. He's better than I thought he was. It looked like he was slowing down coming off the ACL injury, Mike. So I think like an 88 grade for me would be, kind of around there.
Yeah, more of a scheme dependent player, right? But to your point, he had the sack the other day, and he turns around and pointed at Barmore because Barmore has become the great pick setter. Had a couple every week. He's got a couple where they're running 2-man games, and he will take 2 bodies with him, and that frees up Chason or Landry to cause havoc in the backfield. And it's like he didn't celebrate the sack. He points at Barmore, which again, if you're into like signs of buy-in and like little things like that, that's a pretty cool moment where Harold could have been like, look at me, I got you, you guys cut me in Tennessee. No, he went right to Barmore, and he gave him some love. So I might be B- on him just because I think, again, same thing. Last couple of weeks, I feel like he's fallen off a little bit, even with the sack.
Yeah.
He's definitely wasn't 100% this past weekend, so that also can add to it. What do you got for Robert Spillane?
This is a tough one for me. I do think he's a good player. I've been so underwhelmed with the linebacker play. I don't know if it's a reflection of him or just the overall depth chart. So for me, I'm like a C+. 158 tackles a year ago in Las Vegas. He's your best linebacker. I just think it's been one of the weakest spots on your defense. So if it's one of the weakest spots on your defense, I can't give you a B. He's good for their group. I do think this might be a spot in the offseason they try to upgrade and find someone who's better than good. Like, I think you're missing an elite player in the middle there.
They really struggle with pass coverage. You mentioned it earlier with the safeties and the linebackers. Like, I don't know how or why teams have not spammed the hell out of that. Like, hey, here's our plan this week. We're going to figure out where Spillane, Ellis, Gibbons, Tavai, Hawkins, Duggar, Woodson are. Yeah. And like, obviously that's the middle of the field. And we're just going to do everything we can to create havoc in there, create space, and then say, go ahead and tackle us. And they've done a better job at that. Obviously the first couple of weeks, Spillane and Ellis were whiffing at ridiculous rates. They've cleaned that up to a great degree so far, but yeah, it's a good point. I thought, so first 2 weeks were rough.
Yeah.
Good 4 weeks. Last week, sort of a game. I'll give him a B-. I think there's more there, but you can't discount the first 2 games because the first 2 games were rough. How about Morgan Moses?
So this one, honestly, I'm going to go high. I'm going to give him an A-. I have him down for 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. He gave up 2 quarterback hits in the first game. He's given up 1 since. Like, He has no holding penalties, 4 false starts, but he had 3 in Miami in week 2.
Yep.
Morgan Moses has been really good, and he's been able to stay healthy. He gets veteran rest days. He's been solid. I also think he's playing next to their best offensive lineman in Michael Onwenu, and that definitely helps him. And he's had some help, but like for the guy you signed who's in his mid-30s, I really wasn't sure what to expect. Is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to show signs of decline? He's actually stabilized their tackle spot in a sense. Like he's a veteran. I think he's a good veteran for the younger offensive lineman to have in the locker room, him and Garrett Bradbury. I'm going to give him an A- just because like I have him down for 1 sack, Mike.
Yeah,
you know, he's starting right tackle. Like that's pretty good.
As another cool moment, he and Onwenu the last couple of weeks after executing some combo blocks, you know, like double team stuff, they look at each other, high five. It's a little high five, guy. He's been terrific, and I have a hard time separating, like, you know, like, hey, don't grade him on a curve or whatever. But I can't help but think that last year it was Vidarian on the left side and Demontre Jacobs on the right. I don't believe Demontre's in the league right now. For Vidarian, it makes a once a game appearance as a jumbo tight end for this team, and got a penalty in one of those snaps. And it's just like night and day from where you were. I know there are some metrics that have the Patriots like top 5. I don't have them there. I don't see it that way, but it's just so much better than it's been that it all adds into why they are at 5-2, right? They're just such a dramatic increase in coaching, quarterback play, offensive line play that, like, okay, this is what professionals look like. This is what their line looks like. It's definitely a professional group.
He's a capable starting tackle, which is something you've not had in a long time, Mike. You know, we talked about it so much over the last 2 years. It was so bad. So when you have like, it could have like an average to above average starter. It's like, wow, this is what it looks like. That's great. It's good for Drake Maye.
Garrett Bradbury in the middle.
Garrett Bradbury has been one of the biggest surprises for me. I didn't think he had a strong camp. I put him down for a half sack allowed. I wasn't sure who to give the stunt sack to, so I split it between him and Jared Wilson last week. I have him down for 2 quarterback hits, 0 holds, 0 false starts, and a half sack. I mean, I got to give him like a B+ A-. He's been so much better than I thought he would be. He's a great person to have in the locker room. Maybe not the strongest run blocker, but what he's done in pass protection has blown away my expectations, Mike. It really has. I wasn't sure. I thought center might be a spot where like, maybe they'll go back to Jared Wilson, or, you know, maybe Bradbury's going to stink a little bit and they go to Ben Brett. No, Bradbury's been above average as a pass protector. I think he's been a good guy to have in the locker room. Great for the media. So, like, vastly surpassed my expectations.
He's funny. The last couple of weeks, trying to move people in the run game, and look, T'Vondre Sweat is a ginormous human being. Yeah. And there was one play in the game on Sunday where, like, he hit him, he slipped down, and he's like kind of like bear crawling to try to stay in front of him and stay in contact with him. And like, you just love the effort. There was another one where they had to Sweat was right over the top of him, but Jared Wilson was blocking down and he had to go to the linebacker. And you can't, so someone's blocking down, you have to go that way, and you're blocking down on someone that big. There's it creates this. You have to. I told him, I was joking with him this week. I was like, "You look like the Matrix." He's like, "I don't know if I go that far." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know how you didn't make contact with Sweat." Now he only got a piece of the linebacker because, again, they probably could have figured out a better way to block that play. But he's exceeded expectations, I would think, because I think coming here, I mean, the Minnesota people were like, he can't pass block. Like, it was like historically a terrible pass blocking season for him last year. And as you mentioned, been a lot of clean sheets this year. It's been pretty solid. How about the AFC Defensive Player of the Week in Callahan Chason?
Yeah, I would give him probably a B-, probably a B-. I was probably at a C+ level. I think he benefits so much from Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, and that's reflective in his numbers. But he did score a touchdown last week. He's putting together the best season in his career. He had a really good offseason, beat out Keon White, and it wasn't close in training camp. He's a good fit for there. I do wonder if that's a spot they could also upgrade at some point. Like, I think Callahan Chason is a fine average edge rusher who benefits from having 2 very high-priced, talented defensive tackles next to him. So for me, I'm around an 80. But I think it's a cool story because he was viewed as a bust in Jacksonville, and he was a first-round pick. He was in the practice squad last year after getting cut from Carolina, I believe. He was in the practice squad with the Raiders. He had a career of 5 sacks in the last like 7 games, and now he has 4 already. He's putting together the best season of his career in a contract year. Good for him. I definitely think he's benefiting from the players around him, though.
I was covering a Jacksonville Jaguars training camp practices, a couple of them, and it was the year I believe the year he was drafted, or the second year. And I remember asking about him, and they were like, basically saying they thought that we screwed it up. We knew it was a projection in terms of he needed to grow into his body, but like he had some crazy athleticism and skills. You just got, all right, we got to mold it. And into that point, they were just like, it's not going to happen. And basically, it didn't happen until last year. You know, year 5 in the league, and now in year 6, where he's only 26, so it's like he's still entering the prime of his career. He's not very good against the run. They're trying to do, you know, we saw Tavai at the edge again. They've taken him off the field on some obvious rundowns, but he does bring a lot of juice in the.
How about this? He's actually younger than Keon White.
I know.
One of the craziest stats on this team.
Yes.
Keon White was an older rookie, but like Chason is younger than Keon White. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it really is. And I wonder if Keon White's long for this world here in New England. We got a couple more to go to, but before I do, you got to hear from Ethos. Mark, this is the serious part of the podcast where we talk about life insurance. But I tell the listeners all the time, I never thought about it. You get married, whatever. I'm young, I'm invincible, and then you buy a house. You're like, oh, okay, well the bills are stacking up here. You got to take care of this, and then you have a kid, and then you have another kid, and then it's foolish not to have life insurance because you think to yourself, if something happens to me, how am I going to make sure that my family is taken care of? And Ethos is the absolute perfect company to do that with, an online platform that makes life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. No complicated process, 100% online. As I say all the time, who doesn't like that? No medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions, and you can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes and get same-day coverage without leaving your house. I don't feel like leaving my house today, but if you want life insurance, bam, you can do that thing. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, or you can go as little as $2 a day and find a plan that works for you and, again, helps to protect your family. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Over 3 million families have used this company and love it. Great reviews across the board on Trustpilot. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/all32. Again, that's Ethos, which is spelled ETHOS.com/all32. All right, Mark, let's get to a couple more players. Khyiris Tonga. And I smile when I say Khyiris Tonga because holy revelation.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about him. He's a nose tackle. You know what I mean? Nose tackles sort of fly under the radar. I'm going to give him like a B+. Like, I guess if you want to grade him like on his actual role, you could say A.
Yeah.
He's like a role-playing, nose-stuffing defensive tackle who's just really good, but he's only playing 40% of the defensive snaps. He's good, Mike. Like, I was like, wow, he's a lot better than I thought he was. Like, the Pats' defensive tackle depth is just phenomenal. I even think like Joshua Farmer over the last couple weeks has played well. But like Tonga, man, he's like a solid above average backup. Like he could start for other teams in the NFL. I don't mind giving him a B+. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's one of the guys I give an A. I just think like for what I thought he was going to be, I think for what they thought he was going to be, like you've heard Mike talk about him being like, he's quicker than I thought. Like he's probably playing more than they expected, which is great because even though you're paying those two guys, Barmore and Williams, big money, you're keeping their snaps around 65, 66%, and you're seeing some freshness in the fourth quarter, which I think definitely matters for this football team. And I love that you mentioned Joshua Farmer, not a free agent, rookie. We've talked about him. Callahan knows I love him. You wrote about him, I believe, yesterday or today on MassLive, so worth checking out. I think for the number of snaps that he plays, the number of impact plays that he makes, it's like I thought he'll be a rotational piece. I think there might be something more there in Joshua Farmer. So, again, not a free agent, a rookie, but I had to mention him. I had to shout him out because I think he has been absolutely terrific. Stefon Diggs.
I mean, A+. It'll be a year Monday. So after the Patriots play on Sunday, that Monday will be exactly 1 year to the date where Stefon Diggs will be 32 this season, suffered a torn ACL, and he is on pace for 95 catches, for over 1,100 yards. He's a number one receiver. He looks like Stephon Diggs from Buffalo. I am shocked. We saw the guy we saw in the summer looked like a slower number 2 possession receiver. And I'm like, 1 year here, probably done. I don't know what's going to happen with the contract after this year, Mike. But like A+, because Stephon Diggs is so damn good. I'm shocked. 1, at the age. Again, he's going to turn 32. 2, the injury, the fact that he started the season on time. And 3, he gets better every week. I'm just absolutely shocked at who Stephon Diggs still is. Like A+ for me. Like the Patriots finally have a number 1 receiver. Like I'm honestly probably my biggest surprise of the year is how well he's playing.
Yeah, it's been very surprising to me too, especially as you talked about what it started to look like in the summer.
Yeah.
I know there was some managing of him, but it was like he just doesn't have the same juice. And
Yep.
like I covered him in Buffalo. I've seen it up close and personal. I've seen him what he looks like in the summertime, and I'm like, it's not that. And like, okay, it makes sense. ACL, older, and then first couple of weeks was kind of quiet, and then just sort of has taken off since then. And what I love though, again, is just that on 3rd and 7,
Yeah.
the faith that Drake has in him to get the 7 or the 8 or the 10 or whatever, it's like almost every week it's 7 of 7 in targets, 7 of 8, 6 of 7. Like it's not one of these, we threw him 12 times, but he only got 4 or 5 passes. No, this is like the efficiency of it all is just really impressive. I'll give you a last one. I mean, there are a couple other free agents, but Mac Hollins is obviously done enough to make an impact here. What do you have for him?
I think he's average, C+. He's a funny veteran to have in the locker room. He works really hard. He's in the building really early. He's taken like Efton Chisholm under his wing. They get to the building at like 5:50 a.m. every morning. He's a role player who can come in and he knows the system. He's a fine C+ backup for me. Probably good to have in the building right now in Mike Vrabel's first year for some of these younger offensive players just to see how he does his business. Like he's wacky. He's like, I think he's out of his mind.
Yeah, I love
he's a good person to have in the building. He's a fine role player. I don't necessarily want to see him playing, number 3 snaps, but I think as a backup receiver, he can come in and, he made a nice catch. That's what he said. He's going to come in. He's going to be a threat in the red zone. I mean, you can give him a C+. I'm fine with that. He's, I'd say, unspectacular in ways, but he's a reserve receiver. And for a reserve receiver, I think he fills his role nicely.
They lean more into running out of 11 personnel this past week. I mean, they've not that they haven't done it, but there were some tells in recent weeks where I was like, basically, like every time they get into this sort of thing, he did a terrific job run blocking. Probably, I would say, his best job run blocking this past week. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, Diggs had a decent block here. And then Chisholm had a couple snaps where he had nice blocks. And it's like, well, if this guy who's been around the league, and he knows his role, so he knows he has to do this if he wants to stick around. But like, it almost felt like a couple of weeks ago, a couple of the guys missed blocks. And when they were talking about why the run game isn't clicking and it's all 11, and it was like, well, one time it was Diggs over here. And one time it was Pop didn't do this or hey, Hollins missed his block. When they get that kind of grit from their outside guys, it sends a great message for everybody else. Like, oh, we're all invested in this. We're all pulling the rope in the same direction. And that certainly matters. Mark, I appreciate it. I know you got some more work to do today. Mike Vrabel, of course, later this afternoon, open locker room. Patriots play at home again at Gillette Stadium for the first time in almost a month, right? Well, a month, 3 weeks on the road, and finally back home against the Cleveland Browns, a 1:00 game on Sunday. We got to get another home game the next week, so you don't have to go airport. Holiday Inns, not Holiday Inns, but Marriott's, you know what I mean? It's for a family man, Mark, with some kids there to be home. I appreciate your time, Mark, very much. A reminder to all you guys listening, watching, please subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel. Also click on the notifications so you know when a new show pops, and also give us a nice review, 5-star. I mean, we got Mark Daniels on the show. Give me 5 stars for that. Like just the effort to get Mark Daniels on the program, to get his knowledge and insight. I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game, and we will talk to you again next week.